Okay, on the screen, I see here there's a thingy over my face. It says orientation is locked, rotate device back, but I know by now just to ignore that and that in fact this is live. So the first thing that I want to say is thank you to Andrew from Iowa. Thank you very much, Andrew from Iowa. This week, I have decided in my half century quest of trying different things, I've decided that it's the time for me to try and gain wealth, which is a ridiculous thing to say because it doesn't translate from my head to what you think I mean. After all, most people in the world are trying to gain wealth all the time. I, however, really oppose this system. I can explain it in rather great depth as to but there's no point. And that's why at this point I decided that to do nothing else and to constrict myself as much as possible to anything but the accumulation of wealth. Something which is especially hard to do as long as I continue to hold on to my strong dislike and discomfort with all of that. A discomfort that is wrong, a discomfort that is based upon how other people might feel about it, but is not based on the reality of myself. I'll explain. But first of all, thank you very much to Andrew from Iowa. Andrew from Iowa, thank you very much for your $300. Also, Andrew wanted me to do a book review. We didn't discuss because for me, anything to do with the world of money is very complicated. So I didn't clarify with him amounts and what kind of book review precisely. But what I would love to do absolutely for free, just because he's a wonderful guy, is to tell you the name of the book. The name of the book is The Signature of God by Grant R. Jeffrey. The Signature of God by Grant, middle initial R, last name Jeffrey. And it's a book that purports to prove that the Bible is looked at, rationally speaking, looked at as an open-minded individual without any preconceived notions, that the Bible, by which he means the Old Testament, which is the Jewish Bible, and the New Testament, are divine, and that God's signature is within it in ways that cannot otherwise be explained. Andrew did send me the book a number of months ago, and I glanced through it, and I found it to be much better than I expected, but also I found it to be over-promising. In other words, some of what it said I did not find convincing. Some of what it said I found to be, well, things I think that I say and things that I haven't said but that are true. So I'll have to clarify that with him. For the course of this week, as I think I clarified, I have no morals. So, and I have no sincerity, as if it's possible to get rid of such things. But for $1 million, I will convert to Christianity live on air in a nude baptism, whatever it takes. I should negotiate. I should say for 100 million. But I'd end up, let's be honest, I'd settle on 1 million. The other two possibilities, one possibility is simply to tell you all the things about the book that are good. In other words, to note, of course, honestly speaking, that I don't necessarily agree with everything, but to point out all kinds of really good things in the book. That's something I can do, provided that I note in advance that I'm, leaving out my doubts. And I think what he probably really wants, because he's an honest individual, is, and he knows me very well from my videos, is an honest review of the book. So I should ask him, I should get in touch and ask, what's the amount for that? Because I'd have to, even though he did send me a copy, I don't have it with me here in Egypt. Just like I didn't bring my various Jewish accoutrements to Egypt. There's only that much you can fit into a suitcase. Yeah, I'd buy the book on Kindle. I'd probably have to buy an actual Kindle because if I'm going to be doing the review while recording, I need a separate thing to be looking at over there. And how much for that actual review? It would take a few days to actually read it through carefully and do it properly. In any case, so this oddity, there's another very, 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 very good fella. His name is Stephen. And Stephen read a response that I wrote on someone else's blog to somebody who had mischaracterized and character assassinated me on his blog. And he was very impressed by my response. I never knew this fellow Stephen before, and he didn't know me before. And he sent me $18. And he subscribed, and he wrote me a very nice letter about his appreciation for that. And we've been in touch since. And Stephen contacted me by WhatsApp. Now, normally, if people ask if everything's okay, they mean that you're acting odd. Have you lost your mind? Are you, whatever? And it's usually some kind of power trip on their part. With Stephen, I'm sure it's not. So for Stephen, I have to explain that while technically, mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm okay, I'm definitely not okay financially for two reasons. Reason A is that one needs money to survive. And reason B is that, I feel, no, not that I feel. I'm quite confident. How to say this in a way that doesn't sound nuts. Listen, review my videos, review my writings. If you do enough of that, you can determine for yourself if I'm crazy or not. That was a pen that dropped. And I'm pretty damn sure that I have the means of bringing about a much happier, better, freer, more independent world, where human independence, where each person is his or her own king, and we identify with each other as fellow kings, rather than in this system, this pyramid scheme that we have, with one person on top and most people way, way below. Different levels. If you got $1 billion, you're within the ruling class in some, but even there are definitive, clear levels. And yet, the fact is that money is so necessary, much more than you can ever know, much more than you can ever know, that it's literally impossible for me to be able to be heard by people, by enough people to actually make a difference. And I have nothing to sell to the individual. Nothing. In other words, the things that I think would be useful for people to realize about themselves and about humankind, if one individual realizes it and starts acting in that way, he or she is putting themselves at risk, because the rest of the world is still caught up in its dog-eat-dog mindset. And therefore, without reaching large numbers of people at once, it's counterproductive and hurtful. I have a whole bunch of videos that I've already made, and articles that I've already written, and a book that I wrote as well that I've been promising lately. But what's the point of sharing them only to do harm? Really only to do harm if they don't reach enough people. That's the other reason I need money. I can't be heard otherwise. And that's more than just survival money. That's actual money. And while I myself, am disgusted at the thought, because I know lots of people with money and I see how they spend their money. I know them well. I've been in their homes. I'm saying not from a distance. And the way they talk about other people, and just the show-offiness of conspicuous consumption, and it's grotesque, and I do not desire any of that at all for myself. So that puts me off to the endeavor. At the same time, I have found that piety and the whole, I will live on nothing, just please, what I've been doing the last few years, get me some money so I can actually get the message out and get these things done. Big things, if you've been following my stuff, very big things. That doesn't work. It really, really, really doesn't work. It doesn't work either for humanity. People don't want to give for that. Nor does it work for me myself. I can't get excited about it because I am, after all, a human. I am, after all, of flesh and blood. And if my own ego isn't getting something out of it, if my own me-ness, me-kite, if my own self isn't enjoying it and enjoying the fame or the gratitude from others or whatever it is, then it can't be sold. I'm very tempted right now to get very scholarly and to tell you all kinds of things from the Talmud that relate to this, and to tell you my own life, whatever else. I might tell you a little bit of my life. First, let me give you my contact information. Because again, this is a money-making venture now. Now, can I accomplish big things? I guess I have to say it again for those who don't know, but I have myself freed hostages in the most precarious situation on planet Earth in the last 40 years. Much more complicated than Gaza. I've offered to go into Gaza and free the hostages and solve the war, but of course nobody wants that. Actually, that's not true. We don't know if they want it because the powers that be don't want it. What was his name? Yahya. Well, he's dead now, but Sinwar. Yahya Sinwar. He wouldn't want it. Netanyahu wouldn't want it. The majority of the people do want it, but they never had a chance to even hear what I have to offer, so there's no point in that regard. But this case where a guy was kidnapped in Chechnya, this is when Putin was, this is how Putin became Putin. By the whole Chechen thing, which you can read in Wikipedia if you like, was an interesting, complicated time. And there was a fellow who was kidnapped in Chechnya, it was on the front page of the newspaper, yada, yada, yada. I didn't have any means whatsoever of helping, except for, the religious ones of prayer and good deeds and charity and being kind to people and study, etc. And eventually it actually came to my attention that there was a way to help. And I took it to all of the important people in the world who can do it, with the FBI, the chief rabbi of Israel, other people whose names you don't necessarily know and titles wouldn't be important. But serious, serious folk, the most powerful people in the world who in theory are all about rescuing this guy. And they all shrugged off the responsibility, and it was on me. And I had no means of doing it. I approached some, I told you I know very wealthy people, but I approached some of these wealthy people, and there's nothing that I stand to gain from this at all. I wasn't even trying to head up I just wanted us to, let's look into it. They weren't even looking into it. And they all looked at me like I was a fool or a thief. So what I did, because I felt I had no other option, coming from 4 Holocaust grandparents and a long, 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 long line of martyr complex, the kind that produced Jesus 2,000 years ago, and in the ensuing few thousand years has gotten stronger among those few Semites too unfortunate to get caught up in it, while other Semites go and do whatever the fuck else they want. Well, so I swore off everything, food and drink except for the basic minimum, sleep except for the basic minimum, reading, talking, every single other thing, in the hope that I would, by force of suffering and have nothing else to do, I'd be able to succeed at it. And I did. And he was freed on the first day of Passover. That's what I'm trying to do here for myself at this point. Anyways, let me give you my contact information yet again. I can be reached by email, moshejrudner@gmail.com, moshejrudner@gmail.com. And if you want to check out my videos, they're here. A lot of them are in private or whatever. I'm happy to make everything public. But I've been recommended in the past, don't have all of them public, only half at a time, maybe just like 10 of them public. Whatever. That's all strategy garbage. I don't know how to do that. Sincerity is all I know how to do, which is why this whole world of money making is something I'm not very good at. That's why I'm trying to do it with utmost sincerity. But utmost sincerity is to say that I'm open to anything. Just like a lawyer will sell justice to the highest client, I will sell my services to the highest paying client. And it's a disgusting sounding sincerity. When it comes to, anything to do with interhuman relationships, it's best not to be so on the nose. I don't know how. Sorry. I don't know how. But, my Substack is ydydY.substack.com. That's ydydY.substack.com. .com. I don't stand by any of it for this week, as you know, and perhaps forever, but definitely for this week. And my phone numbers, which you can reach me on regular phone and call or text, on WhatsApp, and on Signal, in case anybody feels the need for cloak and dagger communications. My number is 1-760-880-1584. The one, of course, is the country code for America. If you're not in America, then +1, followed by the number. If you're in America, you can leave out the +1. 760-880-1584. And that's all that I really have to say at this point. So I'm going to leave it at that.